let her rip. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Live at 5. I wanted to get out of the rain and get into the studio, so I put the studio on today. The rain we need it, and it's a good thing. But it always makes me a little bit sad when there's the first precipitation after the snows are done, and it's not snow. The first rain means it wasn't snow. So, April should be a snowy month, and when it gets rain, as the old ski dog in me just really wants the snow to fall and nothing but. But okay, it's rainy. So I was saying before the show to a couple of those in the studio that someone told me that Seattle, cloudy, rainy Seattle weather is actually cozy. You have to think of it like a hug, enclosed by clouds. Think of it as cozy weather, right, Howard? And that way you can really enjoy the weather no matter what it is. Thanks for joining, everybody. And if you're watching us live on Facebook and you want to join us on Zoom, you're welcome to. Mondays through Thursdays at 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Zoom 694-348-057. And I've got to count it up. I think we're into somewhere near our 200th episode. And one of these days we'll get out of the house. But it's good to be here with you. I hope you're having a wonderful wet day. I was looking, I don't know what the relevance this has to our show, but today I printed out a report. I was looking to take a look at different sized Jewish communities around North America. And I found, or my colleague found for me, a list of the top 52 communities, Jewish communities in America by population. It turns out that estimated 20,000 Jewish populace and above, there are 52 communities. Isn't that interesting? Here's some of the surprises. Number 1, New York. Number 2, LA. Okay, no surprises there. But you know what the third, according to this 2018 population demographic study, the third biggest Jewish population in America is in Washington, D.C. Now go figure. Who would have thought, right? I wouldn't know that. I guess, that was back when we had more in the Supreme Court, but it's a big population of Jews in Washington, D.C. I would not have known that. Then Chicago and Boston, number 5, top 5, Boston, big Jewish community in Boston. The whole thing very interesting. Where does Denver fit in? Denver, where would you put, if you had to guess, where in the top 50 Jewish populations is Denver, Colorado? According to this, it was number 19. Okay, we are according to this, just shy of 100,000. There are 18 communities in America with a Jewish population of over 100,000, and we're just after that. The first Jewish population, just under that, number 19. So there you go. Even though I think we're like one of the top 3 most expensive communities in America to live in now in Denver, but still there's a lot of Jewish people here. That number is still growing. A real desirable place. I thought it was pretty interesting. And I just came back from a few days in sunny Vegas for Passover. Vegas makes the top 25, the 25th largest community, Las Vegas. And those were some of the surprises. A lot of Jews in Florida, lots and lots in California, tons in New Jersey. New Jersey has like 4 or 5 different cities that make the list, and Florida has like 6. And before you get too far down there, you even have Tucson. Little old Tucson makes it on the list of with over 20,000 Jews. I thought that was very exciting. What's the last of those is a community in New Jersey called Somerset. Ever been there? Never been to. I don't think I've ever been to Somerset. But okay, that made the list. So why was I looking at this? Just if you're curious, I was trying to see how many communities we might be able to interest in running their own clean speech campaign. And I figured if we've got a community with at least 20,000 people, we could talk to them. So we got about 50 possibilities just right here in the United States of America alone. It happens to be that while we were away on Passover break, a new Clean Speech Colorado campaign was launched, underway. Clean Speech Minnesota. Okay, that's right. Clean Speech Minnesota. So we got that April 1st, Clean Speech Minnesota. I know it is exciting. Where is Minnesota on here? So they have one Jewish community of significance made the list, Minneapolis, number 39, with just shy about 30,000 Jews. So that's very exciting. It's our second campaign here in America outside of Colorado. We had an Illinois campaign on the college campus of University of Illinois in Champaign, which is a college community. Didn't necessarily make this list, but it was a specific college specific campaign. And now we've got Clean Speech Minnesota. Very, very cool. So there's 30,000 Jews possible. Our goal in Colorado was, if there's 100,000 Jews, we had a goal of 50, which we think we surpassed in our second campaign. So 50, you add another 50%. So now we'll be up to, look at that, 50 plus, maybe another 15. Working our way up to millions and millions and millions. We've set our sights on the 5-year plan, just like the Russians had. Yeah, we have a 5-year plan. And after 5 years of this, we hope to have put the beautiful lessons of Jewish mindful speech in front of somewhere between 2 and 3 million Jewish Americans. So that's our goal. Working on that. And here's our list. We're checking them off. Campaigns, and this year alone, so far we've got at least 6 slated, with another 2 on the way and 2 more possibilities. And after that, we're gonna have a cutoff, because there's only so many hours in the day. But kind of fun. I would make them as a dartboard. I was throwing darts, but I don't think that's quite the approach. We're a little more systematic than the dartboard approach. Anyway, I hope you all are doing well. I wanted to wish, by the way, we have another. Actually, it's not. I wish there were a Mazel Tov. I want to extend our sympathies before we get down into the show. I'd like to make some announcements. I wanted to extend our sympathies to our dear friend Jen Grinspoon on the tragic loss of a 17-year-old cousin of hers. So a very sad moment. Just wanted to express those condolences. And I also wanted to wish a refuah shalema to Nancy Kaufman's father. Should be well. He's been struggling with some long-term coronavirus complications. So that's difficult. And we hope that he should be well. Binyamin ben Avram, I believe. So those are a couple of announcements. Also, just on the calendar, always good to have a heads up. It happens to be that this week on Thursday will be observed Yom HaShoah, which is an annual day of Holocaust remembrance. We'll talk a little bit about that perhaps on Thursday. That is, it's actually, the Hebrew date is Friday, and yet, since it's not observed on a Friday, it's going to be observed this year instead on the Thursday prior, which is this Thursday. So heads up for that one. And there are programs. I believe the Jewish Experience is one of the listed partner organizations on the ADL's annual Governor's Holocaust Remembrance Program. So if you want to be interested in taking a look at that, you can find that information. I believe it's online. I think the governor will be addressing us, as well as one of our local Holocaust survivors. And if you want more information, I would take a look at the ADL's website. I believe that you can participate in the free Zoom event by registering. I think it's a free event, and I think it's later this week. Also, we are coming up on a new Jewish month of the month of ER, which will be next week. Rosh Chodesh is next week, and the Shabbos before Rosh Chodesh, before the new month begins, we always make a special blessing on that month, and so that Shabbos has a little bit of a special status. Therefore, this Shabbos, don't forget, we make the special blessing of the approaching month of ER, which is starting next week. And Rosh Chodesh, I think it's Tuesday night, Wednesday, but don't quote me on that. I have to check. I'll double check. This is a vague announcement. And another vague announcement, shortly thereafter, we'll be having the important holidays of Passover, Pesach Sheni, Passover number 2, and Lag BaOmer. We'll be talking about those as they come in. So this is the end of our vague announcements of upcoming events in the Jewish calendar without dates. The interesting thing is that when we transition from this month to the next month, it's really a kind of the end of an inning, if you will. The whole month of Nisan, this current month that we're in, is really a very festive one. It's a very festive month, and it's so festive the whole month that we actually omit Tachanun for the entirety of the month of Nisan. What does that mean? So Tachanun is a particular part of our daily liturgy that is in which we beseech God for help in a place from a place of difficulty and need. Now, on a normal day throughout the year, that's kind of part and parcel of Jewish life. We're unfortunately still grappling with a long, dark, and difficult exile, 2,000 years or so. And since the temple, it was destroyed and the Jewish people were exiled, and that temple has still not been rebuilt. So that is a very appropriate part of our daily liturgy. They were beseeching God, please take us home, take us from sunny Denver back to Jerusalem and rebuild our temple. And that's a normal thing that we do. But on a festive day, so for example, like the Sabbath or like a holiday, we omit that part of the prayer service because it's not that kind of an attitude. It's not the kind of a day, help us, things are so bad. Instead, we're trying to tap into the positive, the greatness of that day, the high holy moment that Sabbath or that holiday is. So we omit that part of the service on such a happy day. The entire month of Nisan is a happy day like that. The whole month, it's a whole happy month. It's an amazing thing. And why is that? That I don't think we really had a chance to talk about this in advance of Nisan. Maybe we mentioned it briefly, but before it slips away from us, before we move on to the next month, let's just talk about why this month is such a happy month. Now, there are two important pieces of information you need to have to make sense of this. Number one is we have a very significant Jewish Talmudic principle, which is that a thing is defined by its majority, which means if you've got 51% of something, you got it. 51%, that's it. The majority is that thing. Okay. The majority rules in many cases. We're not a democracy necessarily. In fact, we're the Live at 5 is a tyrannical dictatorship. It's not a democracy. But a lot of times, things are, it depends. The Torah says you're going to go with the majority in many cases. I'll give you an example. In a Jewish court, you don't need a unanimous opinion. You need a majority opinion. And the court's decision is based on and follows the majority. And that's based on a verse. The Torah says, Achrei Rabim Lahatos, go with the majority. The majority is the thing. Okay, so what am I doing with that principle? So it turns out that the days of Nisan, which is a 29-day month, the majority of the days are festive, are holidays, and we're going to omit Tachanun on those days. And once we're omitting that part of the liturgy called Tachanun, as we described, for the majority of the days of the month, that's the whole thing. Out goes the whole month. Now, let's think about that for a second. So do we have, what's a majority of 29? So if you're my numbers guy, so then that would be 15. 15. So do we have 15 holidays? Where do we have 15 holidays here? That's going to put us over the top. I mean, Passover, you got Passover in the month. So that's a bunch of days, but it's not 15. It's 7 or maybe 8. If you're in the diaspora, it's 8 days, not 15. Where are the majorities of the days of this month of Nisan happy? And so interestingly, it happens to be that there's some sort of subtle hidden holidays in the month. Okay. Now, in the month, what are the subtle hidden holidays? And they tie in beautifully with this week's Parsha. Okay. And also they tie in beautifully with this week's Parsha joke, which we'll get to in a minute. Now, the Parsha is Parshas Shemini, which means the 8th. Okay, the 8th is literally like the 8th and it was on the 8th day. Okay, it was on the 8th day. Now, what is the Parsha talking about? There's actually a very delightful Jewish band called 8th Day. I think it's named for the Parsha. We love that, 8th Day. It's a great band. Go take a look on YouTube and enjoy some 8th Day's great music. The Parsha is called 8th Day because it's talking about there was a 7-day process during which Moses at the foot of Mount Sinai in the desert was putting up the tabernacle. And when those 7 days were gone, on the 8th day, the tabernacle was up. And there it was. The tabernacle was up. The tabernacle being up was exciting. It was like opening day of tabernacle season. Okay, didn't the baseball just had that, right? The baseball season had opening day pretty recently. They threw out the first ball. They sang the national anthem. Big day, okay? Big day. So this is the predecessor to opening day for the baseball season. It was opening day at the tabernacle there at the foot of Mount Sinai, and it was the 8th day of that process of putting up the building. Okay, what day of the month was that? So it happens to be that 8th day of that process coincided exactly with the first day of Nisan. Okay, beautiful. First day of this month, Nisan, we're talking about. That's when it was. And when, what do we immediately do after opening day? We have the inaugural ceremonies. The inaugural ceremonies after opening day of the tabernacle were like this. Each one of the 12 tribes took a day to step forward and bring their first offerings in the tabernacle. And it was a very exciting day. In fact, it was such an exciting day for that particular tribe. It was like a holiday. They had their own holiday. It was opening their first opportunity. That tribe came forward and they had their day, opening inaugural day at the tabernacle. How many tribes are there? 12 tribes. How many days was that then? 12 days. Starting on the 1st of Nisan, so the first 12 days of the month were these minor holidays, one per tribe, but the Jewish people were celebrating. And every day was an inaugural moment for that tribe to step forward and bring their tribal inaugural offerings at the tabernacle. And so those days, in terms of counting the days of Nisan as holiday days, they count. So the first 12 of them are holidays, and then you got 7 or 8 more. And as you talented math majors will be able to glean, we're well past our majority 15 number. So that's where the entire month of Nisan takes on holiday status, and we omit for the duration of the month, for the rest of the month, and from the very beginning, we have omitted this part of the liturgy. So that will come to a conclusion at the end of the month as we transition from Nisan to ER next week. Okay, so that's a little interesting background and baseball reference, which leads me to the Parsha joke. So this is the 8th day, and the Parsha joke is: do you know why? With all this math here, you should be able to get this very easily. Do you know why that 6 was afraid of 7? Well, because 7, 8, 9. And that's the 8th day joke. That's a groaner. Okay, so please don't give me less stars on the ratings for that one, for a bad Parsha joke. But everybody, every Parsha needs its own tie and its own joke. This is not my Parsha tie. The other thing that I wanted to do today, now that we've got the majority of today's show is gone with bad jokes, so it must be a bad joke show because the majority of it is now over. I wanted to also just continue to talk a little bit about the topic that we started yesterday. Yesterday we were talking about this period of time and the journey that we make spiritually, a spiritual journey every year after we depart from Passover and we head towards Shavuos. We got these 2 holidays like bookends of this journey. And we talked a little bit about that yesterday. We count every day. And what we're really counting from is in very much in the same way that the Jewish people had escaped the influence of the immoral and the unholy Egyptian influence, that their time enslaved in Egypt, away from our homelands, which we never really inherited yet, as sort of prehistory. But when we were in the, swamped in the mire of Egyptian culture, it was a very bad influence on us. And it was important to be free of that idolatrous, immoral culture. It was important for us to count every day. Just like at the AA meetings, here's another day of sobriety, another day of non-idolatry, another day of non-immorality, and for the Egyptian escapee Jews of that generation, they knew exactly what they had gotten away from. It was very clear to them. But what we didn't talk about yesterday was, a little bit about how that is meant to be a helpful idea for us. What are some of the things? I just want to make the point relevant to us. What are some examples of those things that we ourselves should be considering to try to move away from? What are we trying to leave behind, as we said yesterday? So I can tell you in previous years that some of the different things that have occurred to me and that I've selected, in any given year to try to pick one thing and to really make my own personal Passover liberation relevant to, let's say, one particular struggle that I have, to try to use this spiritual escalator that we're on right now, which is an up escalator. It's lifting us. We're getting, with the wind is in our sails. We're getting help here, divine assistance. And you have to know how to apply that to the genuine challenges and struggles that we have in our own lives. So for example, if a person is, for example, short-tempered, has a tendency to get angry. Okay. Anger is something that we know that our sages say is an extremely poor character trait. It's problematic, and it's something that we have to work on. A person has to learn to control that tendency and rein in their anger, not be so quick to anger. So that would be the kind of thing, if you get to the end of the day, if you'll be able to say a whole day and I didn't blow my top, not once, that would be an accomplishment. You would say, right, I'm trying to leave my short fuse behind, and I'm trying to work towards, my greater, calmer, more peaceful, more tolerant self. And I'm not going to get angry. So therefore, a whole day, every day I managed to accomplish a day without anger. I didn't get angry today. What an accomplishment that is. You would count it. Today's day 9. Yesterday we counted 8. Today's 9. Today's the 9th day of the Omer. Hopefully we're coming to the end of a 9th day. We can look back and say, for 9 days, I haven't blown my lid. I haven't lost it on anybody. I didn't, blow up and tear anybody's head off. That would be a tremendously positive thing. That's an accomplishment. And that's the kind of thing that we want to select to work on. Or let's say a person is like, notoriously a procrastinator. That's another one of my great strengths. I'm a really good procrastinator, and it's fantastic to try to work my way out of that one. So to try to live a day with more alacrity, not get sort of like caught wasting time twiddling one's thumbs. Today you don't even need thumbs. You just need a cell phone, and you have an instant procrastination machine, because there's a zillion constant available distractions in your hands if you have a cell phone, right? There's a million little things going on over there that you could get involved in and really waste time from what you'd rather be doing. So you have a day without that procrastination, trying to get away from that, or to be a person that's more compassionate, or more thoughtful, or more focused on others. All of these are the kinds of things that we're thinking about in this. And if you notice, there's a common theme here. The theme per se is character. Is in Hebrew we call those my midos. The word midah, here's the word of the day, is the word midah, and midah means measure. Okay, like on a measuring stick, like on a ruler. What's the midah here? What's the measure? As even in English, there's an idiom that what's the measure of a man? A measure of a person is, how do you measure them? I mean to say, how would we describe their character? What's the measure of a person is the way that they behave, the way that they treat others, the way that they act. That's your character. And in Hebrew, character traits are midos, or measures. And those are, in fact, those are really the things that we're trying to work on, particularly now that the escalator that we're riding on is taking us, is lifting us. It's in that framework. It's on that scale that this period of time is so emotionally powerful, emotionally charged with success, with energy of success. And perhaps that's based on the beautiful dictum that derech eretz kodma l'Torah. It says in Pirkei Avos, the ethics of our fathers, it says that derech eretz, which means good character, kodma l'Torah, precedes Torah. So if as we know, the holiday of Shavuos that we're heading towards is the holiday of the Torah, of the Jewish people's reception of the Torah, acceptance of the Torah on Mount Sinai, in advance of that, to prepare for that. Derech Eretz Kodma Torah, where our fine tuning, our improvement of our character comes first. You have to work on that first. A person has to spend some time and energy trying to improve the way that they lead their lives, the way. Now, that's when we say the way that we do it, it doesn't mean what we're doing, but how. That's our character traits. Those are our midos, the way that we behave, the way that we go through life, the way that we interact with others, or the way that we just do our own thing. Those are our midos. And that's what the Mishnah there is saying, that before we're ready to really come to that moment of accepting the Torah, but before we do so, this is like a prerequisite. When you're in college and you wanted to take this class and it looked interesting to you, and unfortunately there were 14 prerequisites that you had to take first, so you never got to take that class. That's a prerequisite, is like it comes first. You can't go to B until you've done A. Really, it comes in that order. We said, by the way, that sort of the whole reading of the Torah is like that as well, because the Torah begins with lots of stories about our great role model progenitors, our forefathers and foremothers, about Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and teaching us how to emulate their great characters and characteristics and character traits and qualities. They weren't perfect. And the Torah even teaches us sometimes a lesson from some of their own shortcomings that we should strive to overcome. But the stories of the Torah, the narratives of their lives are even more than their Torah. They're lessons of derech eretz, of character. So we learn those first. The Torah begins with those stories, and only later, book 2 at the end, book 3 for sure, books 4 and 5. That's when we get Torah. Torah meaning instructions, mitzvahs, guidance. We get our to-do list. You get your honey-do list. Write that in there later on, after you've already had a chance to imbibe the character lessons of our great role models. Okay, so that's really the idea here too. The Jewish people coming from the life in Egypt, they didn't have very good role models. They had the Egyptians. They had Pharaoh. Pharaoh is the definition of ego, of self-centeredness, of refusal to recognize God because of his own hang-ups and his own his need for his own self-aggrandizement. So this is not the character that we want to emulate, right? This is not the role model that we want. And then all of Egyptian culture was like that. And so it took us weeks and weeks and weeks of distance from that. And every day was another day, counting forward. Another day without that, another day without that trait, without that role model, without that. And so our job then is to pick out something in our character that we want to take advantage of this opportunity. This is, like I said, it's like an escalator. You just have to stand there and stuff will happen. It's good. The escalator is the best part. You don't have to schlep your cookies up the stairs. You just stand on the stair and the stair moves. What a great invention, the escalator. So too, there's like a spiritual escalator going on. The trends are good. Just ride the ride, get on the journey, pick out what it is that's your struggle. That's your, the project that you want to work on. I've got, you got a whole list of things maybe, or maybe you've got very little, but come up with something. Think about, what it is that you can utilize this opportunity to get away from some of that baggage of life that's bogging you down and that's held you back, and that you can distance yourself from. And right now what you're going to get is a lot of heavenly assistance. I wish you a healthy and a holy rest of your day, and God willing, with the opportunity at hand, we should all improve all of our midos until they are shining, clear, superlative, and beautiful, and we're ready for the holiday of Shavuos and Kabbalas Torah in just a short time. See you tomorrow, God willing, on Live at 5.